All right, this is Chris from Rekkid Talk, and this week, instead of ranking the albums, this is going to be a ranking the bands. I'm going to give you my top 10 metal slash hard rock groups from the 70s and 80s. So these are basically people who came to prominence in either the 1970s or 1980s. So nobody who came along the scene in the 1990s or after is going to be featured in this video. I'm not featuring any punk, so I know I could have done Six Pistols, The Clash, but they're not going to be featured in this video. Obviously, no grunge, no nu metal, etc. So this is kind of the stuff I grew up listening to as a teenager. I would have considered myself a metalhead then. I've never really gotten into extreme metal, so I never got into like death metal or black metal or any of those genres. Um, and there's not going to be anything weird on this particular list. These are all going to be bands that people have heard of. Um, and there's going to be a little bit of vinyl, but it's going to be mostly CD. And there's one band in my top 10 that I currently don't even have in physical format, which struck me as kind of odd considering how much I like them. So let's get started. So my number 10 is going to be Guns N' Roses. If you only own one Guns N' Roses album, and in fact, owning only one Guns N' Roses album might actually be a good idea, it should obviously be Appetite for Destruction. I do have Lies and the two Use Your Illusion discs as well. The two Use Your Illusion discs probably should have just been a single album, and I haven't, whatever they've done since then, I haven't really kept up on. But Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction. Number 9, and I actually got into this band in the 80s, so this is a Seattle band, but not a Seattle grunge band. This is a Seattle, I guess, they kind of call them progressive metal these days. And so I had several of their cassettes in the 80s, and then this I have on CD, Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime. Just like Appetite is the only Guns N' Roses album you probably need, I would say Operation Mindcrime is probably really the only Queensryche album you need. If I mean, obviously you could get Rage for Order, you could get The Warning, you could get Empire. Um, I haven't really done anything with these guys post Empire, so but I still like to listen to Operation Mindcrime. My number 8 choice is going to be Metallica. Um, I had Master of Puppets on cassette back in the day. It's probably still my favorite one, but I'm going to show S and M. So Symphony and Metallica. So this is Metallica with, I believe it was the San Francisco um, Symphony Orchestra. Um, yes, the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra with Metallica. So obviously a metal band with a symphony orchestra. This is pretty pretentious stuff, but I do like some Metallica. Next few are going to be on LP. So we're going to go back to the 70s, back to sort of the start of hard rock and metal. So my number 7 choice is going to be Black Sabbath. I'm showing you Black Sabbath Paranoid. So obviously one of their earliest albums. I think this is from 1971. Original lineup with Ozzy Osbourne. I actually randomly do also have a vinyl of Born Again, the one and only album they did with Ian Gillan. Of course, I have some other albums with Ian Gillan. Number 6 on my list is Deep Purple. So I'm showing my vinyl copy of Deep Purple's Machine Head. And I'll be honest, Deep Purple isn't somebody I've kept up with, so I know they've been putting out albums over the last 20, 25 years with Steve Morse rather than Richie Blackmore that I obviously haven't kept up on. And I know one of my themes is that you should keep up with bands, but I'll be honest, Deep Purple isn't one that I've done that with. I actually have the one that they did with the symphony orchestra as well, but I chose not to show that one because I like Machine Head better. We'll go back into some CD choices here. So again, from the 1970s, Number 5, Led Zeppelin. Here's Led Zeppelin 4. We know this album. It's got Stairway to Heaven and other songs on it. Uh, Black Dog, The Battle of Evermore, Going to California, When the Levee Breaks. So, I have a bunch of Led Zeppelin on cassette as well. I have a comp, a 2 CD comp of them as well. At some point in my life, I think I had this on LP. It was probably um, copped from my parents, and they probably got it back. Number 4, this was another big album from my cassette era, but I do have on CD Van Halen. So this is the debut Van Halen 1 from 1978. And I'm definitely a David Lee Roth guy when it comes to Van Halen. I kind of believe that David Lee Roth is much better with Van Halen than he was solo, and I believe the opposite about Sammy Hagar. I like Sammy Hagar as a solo artist better than his stints with Van Halen. Number 3, so this is somebody I did have some stuff of theirs on cassette. I got into this band in the 80s, even though they became more well known in the 70s. So I'm talking about Rush. And I have a lot of Rush on like some high quality downloads, but I'm going to show 2112. I was sort of partial to the sort of the moving pictures, Signals, Grace Under Pressure era of the band. I think I like Grace Under Pressure was actually like my first Rush album. I think I'm a bit contrarian in liking that album, but I would rank it higher than I think people standardly would rank that when they rank Rush albums. But Rush is very enjoyable. Top Canadian band on my list. Van Halen at number 4 was actually the top American band on my list. So my number 2, I'm embarrassed to admit, I don't have any physical product of them. There was a point in the late 80s, early 90s when I became sort of an alternative rock, college rock snob that I purged a lot of my heavy metal collection. All my Iron Maidens got purged in that. I do have I do have some downloads of theirs. There was this period where I was doing mostly downloads. I actually saw them live in 2019. A couple of my more metalhead friends took me to that concert. I remember having Power Slave. I had a Power Slave poster at some point. Number of the Beast, Peace of Mind. So sort of that era of Iron Maiden. Um, so, and I know some people prefer the first couple albums of Paul Di'Anno, but I think I do like them better with Bruce Dickinson. And so my number 1 choice, and I am going to be able to show an album. I picked this up at a recent record store day. So this is Judas Priest. I'm showing you Sad Wings of Destiny. This is the double LP 45 RPM version. So I have to remember to set my turntable to 45. This is one of the things with these 45 RPM 12 inches is that half the time I forget it's a 45 and I put it on, and then of course then you realize that you have your turntable set on the wrong speed. And so and Priest is definitely another one of those bands that I purged when I sort of renounced metal. A lot of the bands I purged, I'm glad that I purged, but Iron Maiden and Judas Priest are some stuff that I should have held on to. But some stuff I'll rebuild as I have a chance. But of course, there's so much other music I want to buy, and you can't buy it all. But there's again, we'll run through the top 10. 10 was Guns N' Roses. Number 9 was Queensryche. Number 8, Metallica. Number 7, Black Sabbath. Number 6, Deep Purple. Number 5, Led Zeppelin. Number 4, Van Halen. Number 3, Rush. Number 2, Iron Maiden. And number 1, Judas Priest. Some bands I thought about putting on the list, it didn't make it, were bands like Kiss, Def Leppard, AC/DC, Dio, Rainbow, Megadeth, Motorhead, Aerosmith. Maybe I'll mention Motley Crue, even though I really only like their very early stuff and got turned off by them. Living Color, they had a couple cool albums, and did they disappear, or are they somebody that kept on making albums that I'm unaware of? I don't know, but anyway, so that's my top 10 bands from the metal hard rock realm.